recently just made an 18-hour course for brokerage owners that goes through everything of how to run a successful brokerage. And I made a whole module about leadership because leadership is so important. And I think so many people, until you've actually been in a role where you've had to lead a lot of people. See, I've had hundreds of employees. I've been self-employed for 18 years. And so you just learn as you go along and you get better at it. So that's the truth of it. So if that's a little encouragement for you. So I want to break down for you what I think are the top 10 things that I think every leader, like these are the skills and qualities that you want to focus on to be a great leader and to really get the results that you want out of what you're doing. Okay, so number one is, this may seem a little obvious, but you need to be positive. Like you need to be someone who inspires other people. People will not follow you, and what kind of a leader are you without followers if you don't put a lot of positive energy out there? So think about your interactions with everyone in your life, not just your team. So whether those are text messages you're sending, if they're messages, they're videos, there's meetings that you're having, one-on-one meetings with people, whatever it is, when that person leaves your presence, are they lifted up? Do they feel encouraged? Do they feel like they can go out and conquer the world and take it on? Because that's really your job as a leader, is to take your positive energy and give it to the other person so they can go out and conquer the world. You know, there's lots of things out there. We're getting beat up by our sellers and our buyers and other agents. And, you know, sometimes they're discouraged. Leads are using other agents, and there's just tons of things going on, especially new agents. You know, they have a hard time getting out of the gate and getting going, so much to learn. So it's our job sometimes to just be right behind them and back them up and give them a lot of positivity. So think about whether you're a person that other people want to be around, whatever that is, you know, whether it's in person or it's just the communications that you're having with them. Try to be that person that attracts people in and doesn't repel them away by being negative and having a lot of drama and a lot of judgment. All those things, just get those out of your vocabulary and out of your world, and just think about being more positive. Okay, number two is to be a good listener. So again, you know, sometimes your agents have a bad day and things happen, they go wrong, they've made a mistake, they're embarrassed, they're upset, they're scared. All those things happen, and sometimes what they need is just somebody to listen to them. I watch a lot of people, and it's so interesting because what they're doing is you can watch their conversation. They're sitting there listening to somebody, but they're always like ready to just jump in and talk, and they're not really listening. They're listening to try to formulate an answer so they can solve the problem. But really, to be a good listener, you need to just listen to people, just absorb it, and really hear what they're saying. Ask a lot of questions to try to get to the why behind what's going on and how we got here. And then turn off your phone. Don't have distractions. Make good eye contact when you're talking to someone so that they feel like they're the most important person in the world right then. If you really want to grow a large team, this is a big skill that I think is so necessary. And sometimes people have bad things happen and they just need to be heard. So make sure that your door is open and you're being that person, because that's one of the biggest things you can do to grow and to build a lot of loyalty and trust with your team as well. Okay, number three, always assume that the other person had good intentions. I don't care what they just screwed up. Assume that they were coming from a good place until you're proven otherwise. Sometimes that's not always the case, but let that come out. Don't come to them and say, well, what were you thinking? Don't ever approach someone like that. Instead, you can say, well, can you share with me what was going through your head as you did this? I'm just trying to understand where we went wrong here and how we can fix that next time around so I can help you, not have to do this again. And so that's a much better tone of voice, openness to the conversation. And so when you do that, you'll find that people will come and they will open up to you and you'll figure out what was going on in their head. Usually people had the best of intentions. They were trying to do a good thing or they didn't understand something. But the truth is that we all make mistakes. And so when you're open and accepting of that, your team is going to respect you and they're also not going to try to hide things from you. So you get a lot more transparency and you'll be able to fix things. So until everyone can get vulnerable with each other and just be honest and real, we're not going anywhere. Those mistakes will just keep repeating because you have to fix the thinking behind them. And that's why it's so important to ask good questions and understand what was going on in their head so that you can say, okay, well, I understand what you were trying to do, but I want you to think about it like this, like that's what you were thinking, but this is really how it should have gone. Does that make sense to you? And then, don't throw that at people, but have those conversations to help them realize how to think better. That's what you've got to do so they have better judgment calls when they're out there in the field, spur of the moment things going on. So that's my number 3. Now, number 4 is you need to take responsibility. So whenever you screw up, it's going to happen, by the way. Of course it is. We all make mistakes. I've made about every one that there possibly is, probably like 10 times over. So don't worry about that. But when you do make a mistake and when it impacts someone else, maybe you said you were going to do something and you realize you're not going to be able to do it, or you're not going to be able to do it when you said you were going to, or in the way you said you were going to, you need to apologize. If you've hurt someone's feelings, if you've just totally messed something up, make sure that you are not above apologizing to your team, because that builds a lot of trust, a lot of loyalty. And it's not just about getting agents to join your company, but it's about them staying. And so you've got to build this culture where everyone is working together as a family and trying to get results. And so you as the leader need to be humble enough that you can apologize for your mistakes and absolutely take ownership when you screw something up or you're not delivering what you promised. You have to do that. Otherwise, you will get no respect from your team. Number 5, I have learned over all the years that things that seem huge today, tomorrow are a little less big and a little less scary and a little less emotional. So the more you can step back when a situation occurs or there's a decision to be made and you can actually sleep on it, it may take you a day or two, and then come back with an answer. What's going to happen is your brain will start working and it'll start pulling in other options that in the moment you're so focused you can't see them. But as you give it a little time, you'll start thinking, oh, well, we could do this or we could do that, and solutions will start presenting themselves. Some of the emotion will go away. It will just kind of dissipate and it will just get calmer. And so if your agents have a little issue together, maybe they get in a little tiff or something like that, the more that you can kind of get everyone to just try to stay calm and again create that culture of assuming the best about everybody on the team, the more you promote that kind of a culture and the more that you are not reactive to things when they happen, the more that you are going to be a good leader who doesn't seem like you have all this emotion. You're just a lot calmer and people respect that. People want a stable leader. So that's what you need to be. So think about that when things happen. Am I just creating drama right now? Do I have to react to this right now? Or can I wait a day or so? Can I think about it? Can I see if other options come up? And just tell people that's what you're doing. Just say, can I just think about it for a day or so? Because I want to see if I think of something else. I found over time that the more I just give it a little bit of time to think, I just want to make sure this is the best decision for all of us. People so respect that. So that's some of my best advice for you. Okay, number 6 is to communicate. Don't assume that people know what's going on. If you want people to do certain things or not do certain things, you have to make sure that your communication is so crystal clear. What sounds like it makes sense to you doesn't always make sense to everybody. So make sure, first of all, that you didn't just assume, oh, I thought everybody already knew that. Make sure you tell everybody what you want them to do or not do, but then also just really make sure that they don't have lingering questions and they understand exactly what it is that you want them to do. That's the only way to be a good leader. People will follow you if you're good at showing them the path and showing them what you want them to do. And that only comes about through excellent, consistent communication. Okay, number 7, praise and reward what you want to be repeated. So it's kind of like training a dog. When you teach a dog maybe to shake, let's say. So you get the dog to put its paw in your hand and you're kind of like doing this and you give it a treat. Good job. And you just shake, shake, shake. I taught my dog how to shake in one day. So You need to remember that anything you want repeated, you need to praise and reward that, and you need to do it publicly. Whenever you have to discipline someone, you want that always to be non-public. You need that to be private between the two of you to really get to the bottom of that and not embarrass people on your team. But when you want them to do something and they've done something that's promoting the culture you're trying to create, you want to shout that from the rooftops. So if you've got a little private Facebook group for your agents or whatever it is, make sure that you're praising the things you want them to do. If they're helping each other, say, yep, see team, this is what we do. We help each other. If they did a great job of taking care of a client, make sure the other agents know they did that. That pulls everyone forward and helps really focus your culture in a direction that you want it to go. Number 8. When things happen, which they will, deal with them head on. So I know I said don't be super reactive, but sometimes there are things that have to be addressed right now. Maybe your agents just had a big fight, and the more that just sits there and festers, they're going to be talking to all the other agents, and now everybody in the office has all this emotion and all this stuff going on. Well, we can't let that happen. So you need to sometimes have really tough conversations that you're just stressed about, you're not sleeping, you're upset, but sometimes you just have to get in, you have to deal with those things head on, because I will tell you that ignoring things that are going in the wrong direction, they start off small, but they don't stay that way, and they grow faster than you think they will grow. All of a sudden, next thing you know, you're like, whoa, this got really out of control, when you could have just nipped it in the bud right off. So don't be afraid to have those tough conversations. Unfortunately, that's part of what goes along with being a leader. You have to be able to do that. You've got to protect your team and have those conversations to protect your interest as well. And so don't be afraid to have those conversations when you need to have them. Number 9, be a great example. So whatever you want them to do, if you're not willing to do it, they're going to figure that out, and then they're never going to really ultimately have buy-in on what you're doing. So if you want to ask your team to get on the phone and start cold calling people, and that's part of what you want to do, you better be willing to get on the phone and show them how to do it, and show them how you can do it better than they can, not to compete with them, but to be that example that pulls them forward of how to do things and how to do them in a great way. So always keep that in mind. I always say I would never ask someone to scrub a toilet if I wasn't willing to scrub a toilet. And so I really want you to think, like, what am I asking my team to do? And am I willing to do that work? Have I done the work in the past? Am I still sharp with my skills? Can I get on there and do the same thing? And if you're asking them to do something, you better be willing to back that up and be that example to show them what you want them to do. They will follow you more from the example you set than anything that will ever come out of your mouth. That's one of the biggest things I've learned about leadership. Now, number 10 is you always need to be on a path of growing. If you want yourself to level up, you want to make more money, you want to be happier, you want to be more successful, whatever that is, you have to always be growing. You have to become the person that you're trying to be. People get this mixed up so often. They're like, well, I want to make more money. And I'm like, okay, well, if you want to make more money, you better study how to make more money. You have to become a person who knows how to make more money. The only way you can do that is through coaching, reading books, buying courses, going to seminars, watching stuff like this. I mean, learning from other people who know how to do what you want to do. And what happens is the more you continue to level up, you're going to be bringing your team right along with you. So if you want them to have better results, you want them to go out and sell more houses and make you more money, keep leveling yourself up and your team's going to follow right behind you. So there are my top 10 ways to be a great leader. I hope you found this helpful. If you like the content we're putting out on our channel, feel free to give us a like, subscribe to the channel, and I will look forward to seeing you on the next video.